Good evening. Good evening, folks. Welcome to this extraordinary meeting of the Finance and Public Services Scrutiny Panel. I will start with, well, first of all, welcome one and all, especially nice to see a full gallery. Start with the evacuation procedure for those who've not been here before. A fire drill is not expected, so if the alarm sounds, please evacuate the building quickly and calmly. Please use the stairs and do not use the lifts. Once out of the building, please gather outside the Virgin Money Building, formerly the Yorkshire Bank, across the road. Exit by the door by which you entered the room or by the fire exits, which are clearly indicated. If you need any assistance in evacuating the building, please make yourself known to a member of staff. Please also make sure your mobile phone is turned off, set to silent. And I will just advise that the meeting is being recorded for broadcast at a future date. Moving on to apologies. I have apologies from Councillor Downs. Councillor Evans has kindly volunteered to substitute. Thank you, Councillor Evans. Councillor Condacor.
Can I ask two questions? Firstly, apparently Councillor Evans taking part because he took a lot of the original decisions, so I have asked for legal advice on that. And secondly, you said it was being recorded. Is it actually being streamed tonight or just recorded?
I believe it's streamed live. And to take your first point, I'm quite happy for Councillor Evans to be here as a substitute tonight because he was not a part of the decision that's the subject of the call-in tonight. Therefore, he is entitled to attend. Take your point of order.
On a point of order, could Councillor Kondaka clarify what decisions I made on the Civic Hall, specifically?
Councillor Evans, I don't want to rehash every decision that's been made on the Civic Hall, so I think we'll just leave it there. I'm quite happy for you to attend. I've given my reason why. So, with that, moving on to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest that are not in the printed schedule for members? Thank Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to take part in the debate. I appreciate it, but just so they're aware that my declaration of interests are on the website.
Many thanks. Public consultation is item 4, but before we really come to that, I have a small announcement to make. This year, the Mayor's charity is Zoe's Place for his appeal. This week is also Go Yellow for Zoe's Place, and they're asking people to wear yellow. We've got a couple of collection boxes here at the front, and I would ask any contributions towards the Mayor's appeal at the end of the meeting would be really welcome. Thank you. Moving on to the public consultation part, I'm happy to take the report on this and then allow you to ask your questions. Is that the way you wish to do this? Yeah. Okay, that's brilliant. We've got 4 public speakers, so I just want to make sure that we've given everybody the opportunity to be heard. So I will move on to the presentation of the report on this. Right. Okay. My mistake. There's actually no report to read out. So if we take the first speakers in order, please. Okay, first speaker is Mr. Smith. We have a roving mic which is coming to you, Mr. Smith.
Is it on? Yeah. Right, I think the process tonight, oversight, is whether this the people involved in this process are fit and proper people to do it. The leader of this council, the cabinet executives, have lied constantly, fabricated letters, failed to issue safety warnings, although now it appears that the company they claim did the report ceased trading years ago. the rules on banning people, petitions and complaints, so all are now only taken at the discretion of the executives of this council. Turn the overview and scrutiny panels into nothing more than talking shop for useful idiots with more rule changes. In short, this council and its executives are guilty of malfeasance in public office. The police have been informed of this but refuse to act, claiming it is a civil offence and they will not get involved, which the police have lied. All these facts prove beyond reasonable doubt that this process is corrupted by the very people that are running it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Our next speaker is Rachel Hardy. Hopefully we can have something that's relevant to the actual agenda. Thank you.
I will try. So the motion passed in this chamber last year clearly states a third sector model to run the Bedworth Civic Hall, which is clear and unambiguous. This was raised by Councillor Golby. The motion was passed after lengthy debate. So allowing a commercial bidder now seems like you were changing the rules to ensure a councillor's mate gets the venue with little consideration to the community value. In fact, when I say little, I mean a shocking 20% given to community value. It reads like a column from the rotten boroughs as published regularly in Private Eye. Can the council respond instead of the usual no response is the response when asked a question in the chamber from the public around the Civic Hall? Thank you.
Well, we have the Cabinet member here tonight. Councillor Markham, do you wish to respond to those points now, or would you like to take them later?
Can I do them all at the end? Because I suspect I can just do them all in one. Thank you.
I'm happy with that then. So the next speaker would be Steve Young.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. On the 14th of December, Councillor Golby proposed a motion containing 4 parts. Part C of that motion was to welcome the expression of interest process that has been launched to move the running of the Civic Hall from an unsustainable and expensive public subsidy to a third sector model. The motion was seconded by Councillor Morton and then passed. In fact, you, Councillor Brown, voted for it. If we look at the definition given by the National Audit Office of what is meant by a third sector, we find the following definition. Third sector organisations is a term used to describe the range of organisations that are neither public sector nor private sector. It includes voluntary and community organisations, both registered charities and other organisations such as associations, self-help groups and community groups, social enterprises, mutuals and cooperatives. After that council meeting, we, the Bedworth Civic Hall CIC, put together our expression of interest as a non-profit making organisation, thinking that is what the council wanted and was seeking. How wrong we were. In fact, it turns out that the third sector model they actually meant is a commercial model and is based purely or mostly on how much rent they can get from the bidder. Sorry, turn the page. It does beg a belief that a council can pass a motion and then do the exact opposite. It does make us wonder, what is the point of councillors having a vote at a meeting if when a motion is passed, it's totally ignored? This council so far has changed the rules on expression of interest a number of times, produced figures used on the decision to close the Civic Hall that have been disputed and found to be inaccurate. For example, tens of thousands of people were missed off the attendance figures. Figures on repairs to boilers have been changed from an initial 3 boilers at £200,000, which seems steep, to 3 boilers estimated to cost £750,000. In fact, the council seemed to many of us to have been economical with the truth to the point of dishonesty. One councillor lied before the last election. What's found out? We have the FOIs, we have the emails. If this council now go against their own motion, it makes a mockery of both the electorate and those councillors that voted for the motion. But the deceit goes further. We now find out that secret meetings were held as to the future of Bedworth Town Centre, including the Civic Hall. The council thought these meetings so important to keep secret that they codenamed the whole thing Dark Ops. One such meeting, not held at the council house, was scheduled to rendezvous at the Bermuda Starbucks. People attending the meeting in the email were told to come in casual dress so as not to be conspicuous. Was the chair privy to these meetings? Did you attend any of these meetings? But more importantly, did the leader know about these meetings? Did the leader attend any of these meetings? Did he condone these meetings, or did he not know about them? Sorry, I lost my place then. In fact, who is really in charge of this council? Is he incompetent?
Can you come to a conclusion now?
I am coming to the conclusion. Is he incompetent or complicit? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Before we move on to the next speaker, I can just answer, I've never heard of any meetings anywhere. I'm happy to allow you to clarify something there, Councillor Evans.
Yeah, I'm allowed to ask a point of clarification to the speaker. He's alleging that secret meetings took place. Can I ask the speaker, can he substantiate those claims, including who attended those meetings, and can he specifically name individuals?
We will be doing, don't worry, we will be doing,
No.
go to the press.
I'm asking him to do it now.
No, I'm not doing it now, I'm going to the press with it.
Because you know it's not true.
FOI, we'll go to the press, we'll do what I
Well,
want.
you know it's not true.
Okay,
It's FOI, isn't it?
just,
I don't go to your tune, mate.
I'm just going to move on now to the next speaker, which is Mrs. Janet Batterby.
Thank you. Is that on? Good evening, everybody. Right, so you've rejected 4 out of the 5 criteria put forward for calling, yet all 5 of those criteria would seem to address many of the aims and priorities of the council as set out on page 5 of the agenda for this meeting. So why and on what basis? It's difficult for a layperson to ascertain your reasoning even after perusal of Article 12 of the Constitution, which you claim underpins your decision-making process. Looking back to prior decisions in this matter, Council have not been clear and transparent, in quotes from your own data, about why a lease option was chosen or why you reneged on the third sector model, initially identified by choosing to incorporate commercial bids, which, by your own admission, contravenes the intent of the Localism Act. This being further compounded by the 80-20 split, which inherently diminishes the community and social value of the enterprise, which of course is a point already made several times. Additionally, your timescales are unrealistic and illusional. In placing the emphasis commercially, councillors are missing a huge opportunity to make Bedworth Civic Hall the centre of a potential cultural, educational and enterprise quarter. Acronym CEEQ, and I suggest people remember that. I'll repeat it. Cultural, Educational and Enterprise Quarter, which would be for the whole borough, which I believe is encompassed within the vision of the CIC committee, members of whom are here. The council is hiding its head in the sand by pretending that the Civic Hall can be cost-free to the council in whatever iteration comes next. It can't, it's going to cost you. So please, think again. Let's acknowledge that mistakes have been made. Bedworth is a town in its own right, but is part of a wider borough where all can benefit from a long-term community enterprise, especially during this cost of living crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Markham, would you like to answer any of the points that have been raised?
Yes, please. Is it working? Yeah, yes, please. In relation to Rachel, thanks for your question, Rachel. First of all, we haven't just added the commercial bidder. It sounds like we've added it. The commercial bidder has been in all along, right from the very beginning, as everybody has known. The third sector model was mentioned, but as a council, we decided, for fairness and openness, we have allowed both of the freedom of, of the expressions of interest to go forward. One was commercial, one wasn't commercial, but that again has been known all along. We haven't changed our mind on that. With reference to the figures that were given out under freedom of information, all of those figures that we put out were taken from old OSP reports. We didn't make them up, we got them from the reports. So if they're wrong, then those OSP reports are wrong. The reference to the private meetings, I don't know about them, I don't know who went, I wasn't privy to them. So I can't really comment on that, because I wasn't there. And really, I can only reiterate what I actually said at the last cabinet meeting, which was that we went through the lease process, and because there is 2 people involved, we then had to go and follow because it was an asset of community value, we followed the Localism Act as we were asked to do by the CIC, and then because it went to the lease, we have to then follow the relevant authority accepts some more expressions of interest to the relevant service. It has to carry out a procurement exercise for the service. The procurement exercise must be appropriate, having regard to the value of the nature of the contract that may be awarded as a result of this exercise. But that has actually come from the government, so we have to get open market, open bidding, fair and transparent, and value for money for our residents, because the property is a property of commercial value. And that is why we've done what we've done. We've been open and transparent on what we've followed all the way through. Thank you.
Councillor Concourt, you've got your hand up, but I think we can move into this in the next item, where you can ask questions of the Cabinet member in any case. Thank you for the answers. I would just like to pick up on one point that was made at the end by Mrs. Batterby about the fact that some of the items in the call-in were not accepted. We don't make that decision. They were referred to the Council's monitoring officer and the legal team, who examined the reasons for the call-in and looked at them to see which ones could actually be scrutinised and called in. And the one that we're looking at is the one that passed the test. The others didn't. So as a panel, we can't debate it. Obviously, I've been allowed to... I'm not debating this. I'm trying to give you an answer. Is in that it was a decision that's been taken by the Council's monitoring officer and legal team, not this panel and not councillors. So moving on to item 5, I would just reaffirm to everybody here that for members, we are debating the point of calling, not the points that weren't allowed. We're only debating the point that was approved by the monitoring officer. So with that in mind, I will open this up now to members to question the officer and the Cabinet member. Thank you. Councillor Watkins, as you made the call in, I think it's very appropriate that you start.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So this is for not only for the Cabinet member, but also for this scrutiny panel, and it's asking. I know that Councillor Markham has said that the third sector was considered, but I don't believe it was. Otherwise, this call-in wouldn't be allowed. So I'd like it to be considered, and that it goes back to Cabinet to consider the third sector and give further time for the expressions of interest to be put forward. And also, as Councillor Markham has just said, at the time, the figures from the previous OSPs could have been incorrect, so it would also give us time to get the new figures and the correct figures if the other figures were incorrect. So that's something that I'm putting forward, Chair, is that this goes back to the Cabinet and the consideration for the third sector to be taken seriously there, because I don't believe that it has been in this report. Thank you, Chair.
Any other member? Councillor Condacall.
Chair, can I start with a few questions to the portfolio holder and the officers, and then go into debate afterwards once we've done the questioning?
I'm quite happy if you do ask a question, yes.
Right, the first question is about this third sector model, because clearly the council, the actual full council and the cabinet, were talking last year about this being a third sector model. So can I ask the cabinet member, why aren't we judging it against the third sector model? Why are we judging it who pays the most? Because I understand that a commercial organisation could do the same as a third sector organisation, and there'd be no problem with the Belgrade or someone who runs a bar running it like a third sector operation. But the third sector provides vast amounts of community benefit. That's what third sectors do, and tries to break even. So can I ask the cabinet member and all the officers, why aren't we trying to get the best out of this for a break-even point of view, which is the third sector model, whilst understanding we will allow commercial organisations to run on an equal competition? But why is it commercial first and highest rent first? Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, the reason it's 80-20 is because it has to be financially viable for the council. We've always said that we are open to anybody. 5 people could have put expressions of interest in. 2 did, we put them both through. The reason that we've had to go along the lines that we have is because the Local Government Act of 1972 requires the council, that's us, to dispose of the venue for the best value for our residents. This requires the land or property to be placed upon the open market. The selection process needs to be full open bidding process with adherence to the principles of the procurement, and this will ensure that a fair and transparent selection process is undertaken. So the reason that we've gone along, we've followed the guidance all along for this, and we're trying to get the best value for our residents.
Councillor Condacall, you wish to ask another question?
Well, no, just coming back on that, value isn't just price, it's what you get for the price. So clearly, the motion for council was the running of the Civic Hall, and if the Civic Hall can be run at zero cost to the council taxpayer, but provide a very wide range of services, that is better value than someone paying a few £100,000 but providing zero services. So I still don't get why it's 80-20 and not, there obviously needs to be a go, no-go, a flag that says this isn't commercially viable, this is a non-sustainable model. So there obviously needs to be an on-off switch, but I do not get why the biggest bidder, rather than the one providing the best value, and value is what you get divided by the cost of it, why we gone 80%? Because nowhere do I see that as a requirement. And tied in with that, you're talking about disposal, which we're not doing. We're providing, it's a service contract, it's a lease, so you want some clarity. If you want to dispose of the building, you need to say it's worth X thousand, please dispose. We keep changing which model we use, so can we have some clarity? Are we doing this as a bidding process to provide a service at our Civic Hall, i.e., as the motion said, to move to the running of the Civic Hall as a third sector model, or are we selling the Civic Hall off?
So I can answer part of that, and Katie will answer the other part. We're not selling it, it's a lease, okay? But because there are 2 people involved in the lease, we have to go along the procurement process to get the best value out of it, and that's why this has come from legal. We haven't made it up. So the property transaction falls outside of the procurement, but we have to comply with best value duty. And that is why we've had to go along those lines, because there's more than one person involved. Because we said we wanted a lease. We're not getting rid of it, we're not selling it, it's a lease. It will be a lease. And as far as the 80-20 part goes, Katie will answer that question.
Thank you. Yeah, so just to clarify in relation to the 80-20, it's just to point out that in order to get through the pass-fail for this, there is still the requirement from the community, the 20% element, to meet a minimum criteria of 2. So therefore, there is still that requirement to meet a community value element, and it's not just regarding that finance. So I just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you for the answers. I would just also come in and clarify, for a point of land law, which is my day job, the grant of a lease is a legal disposition, so it's not a service contract, so it is actually a disposition. Any other member before I go back to Councillor Condacall? Councillor Condacall.
Yeah, these questions for Councillor Markham on what she's just said, and following the law, as in going out for the contract. Was this also followed for Stockingford and Kersley Community Centre, and if not, why not? And also, Councillor Markham has just said it's about the value for money. Well, at the minute, we're still paying out for the closure of the Civic Hall, and so the public are getting no value for money at the minute. So I was just wondering if Councillor Markham would like to say how much we're paying out for the Civic Hall at the minute with no public use at all.
Councillor Markham, do you wish to answer this? It's not strictly in accordance with the call-in point, but I'll leave it up to you.
Okay, I can't answer the finances side of things, and with reference to the community centres, different altogether. They're smaller, although I didn't have anything to do with the community centres. I can't actually answer the questions about the value of the community centres, but it's a different scenario altogether.
Councillor Condacall, come to you now.
Yes, thank you. The thing was said about the 20% about the running of the Civic Hall. It's not clear to me what they have to run in terms to get that 20%. Do they have to run it as an entertainment venue with events on in the, what was the old arts centre? Yeah, what are they providing? Because obviously they could provide one show a year, or yeah, what we've got no idea in terms of your value point where that is. Secondly, if we are doing it more as a property transaction, what is the value of the building? Because we still do not know what the value of the building is, and that surely, if you're renting something, you want to know the value of the thing you're renting.
Yeah, with reference to the actual usage, we have got heads of terms, and it will say on there what the usage is, and it is entertainment. It's not so that you can open your bike shop, but it's for entertainment purposes. Once we get this over and done with, and it's all passed, we can get all the documents out to the two relevant parties, so they will be able to see exactly what is involved. It's all waiting, ready to go, but we can't send them out until we know what's happening here.
Councillor Jill Shepherd, do you wish to speak? You wish to defer to Councillor Condacall at the minute, okay?
Thank you, Councillor Markham. It's great you've got a heads of terms ready to go that says what you're bidding for in terms of the entertainment requirement. Can we actually adjourn for 10 minutes and see that, so we can actually understand what third sector, what you're doing, to understand if it's compatible with item C, what we voted for? Because at the moment we're voting for something that's totally blind. we could open it as a nightclub. That could be okay, or it could not be okay. I think this committee should see the heads of terms for the entertainment to see what running of the Civic Hall actually is being proposed. Because otherwise, we are voting tonight to let a process go ahead, which we cannot see if the Civic Hall will be run something like a Civic Hall. So can I ask Councillor Markham if we can see that proposed entertainment schedule, or if we're voting blind? And finally, so I don't come back again, Chair, there was mentions of dark ops and meetings. Fortunately, the officer has given me a copy of the emails that were sent out at the Freedom of Information
Councillor
Act.
Condon, I'm going to stop here because this is going way outside the remit of the debate, which I did reaffirm to everybody at the start here. So, Councillor Markham, do you want to answer the point that it was first raised?
Yeah, I can't show you the heads of terms, no.
Thank you very much. Councillor Shepherd.
Thank you, Chair. It is a question for Councillor Markham in terms of some of the comments she's just made. In terms of the third sector model, that was obviously followed for the community centres in Kearsley and Stockingford, although I'm still not quite sure what's happening with Kearsley. As you said, they're assets of community value. So can I ask why the same principle hasn't been used with the Bedworth Civic Hall?
Yeah, I can't actually answer that because I had absolutely nothing to do with the community centres, and I don't know what was followed for the community centres. I can't answer the question.
Councillor Watkins, did you indicate earlier that you wish to speak again? No? Okay.
No, I didn't, Chair, but I've put a motion forward that that this goes back to Cabinet for consideration for the third sector, and also there's further time given for the expressions of interest, and also there's the further time given for new up-to-date figures to come forward, because as Councillor Markham has said tonight, that it was for the figures that was at the time of the OSP. And so those figures might not be right. And we also know that there was a lot of tickets missed from that, so that they probably need to be added into that. So that's what I'm putting forward to this panel, that we recommend that this goes back to Cabinet, and the third sector are given consideration and further times given. Thank you, Chair.
Does that receive... Councillor Markham, do you wish to come in here?
Please. Yeah, I didn't actually say that the figures were wrong. They were taken from the OSP, so they were all agreed when the OSPs went to think so.
So just want to clarify this. What you're actually saying is that the figures that were in there were validly presented to OSPs, accepted as being correct, and voted on by OSPs as being correct. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So you've put forward a...
Yes, Councillor Markham, and that's why I said that you said tonight that the figures at the time of the OSP. So I've not said that you said they was wrong. And I totally accept that you've not said they're wrong. But it would give us time to get up-to-date figures and to bring back to another scrutiny, or to bring in with the recommendations to Cabinet. So I haven't said that you've said they're wrong. Thank you.
I'm going to take Councillor Shepherd first. I'll come to you, Councillor Condon.
Thank you, Chair. Before you move obviously into the vote, which I can't obviously take part in, just so the members of the public are aware, I'm only allowed to debate it, but unfortunately I'm not allowed to vote. So in the Cabinet report of the 24th of May, there's no mention or no explanation of the third sector model. The Council policy in the minutes of the 14th of December, which stated to welcome the expressions of interest process that had been launched to move the running of the Civic Hall from an unsustainable and expensive public subsidy to a third sector model. That was moved by Councillor Golby, second by Councillor Morton, and voted through by the ruling group. In terms of the Cabinet report on the 24th of May, there is no reference to the third sector model on how this is to be addressed and seems to have been totally ignored by Cabinet. The third sector model is non-governmental, non-profit and values-driven. The venue was registered as an asset of community value on the 11th of January. At the Cabinet meeting on the 24th of May, the selection criteria recommendations were agreed, as was the timescales. Criteria 1, pricing and rent weight, value 80%, social value and community offer 20%. If the third sector model had been considered, as stated in the council minute, then the social value and community offer would have been a much higher weighting. The social value and community offer was set at 20%, a clear lack of openness and transparency, as the third sector model had not been taken account of by the Cabinet. The social value and community offering should have an equal weighting of the price rent to take in the community value or asset status of the Civic Hall and the third sector model. The Cabinet, whilst agreeing the recommendation, did not consider or take note of the third sector model, again, a lack of openness. Timescales are too short over a holiday period, again, a lack of openness and thought. I asked the committee to send this back to Cabinet to get more work done to address the third sector model and social value weighting and ensure the process is open and transparent. This panel is to hold the executive to account, and I ask members to bear this in mind when they're voting and not go against council policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Condacor, you wish to speak?
Yeah, I see a lot of merit in what Councillor Watkins has suggested, but also in terms of running the Civic Hall, everything is down to this heads of terms. This says you'll provide the following services. And obviously, if we cannot today see what that heads of terms is, I recommend this committee and to Councillor Watkins' motion to actually ask the Cabinet to reconsider the details and for them to look at the heads of terms, so that at least there has been some scrutiny of actually what we're getting. Because without that heads of terms going to a body of this council, if it's just decided by officers, then we could end up with a ludicrous situation where one or both of the potential bidders decides not to bid. And we cannot get value for money if the process is so bad, the heads of terms are so bad, that we have no bidders. What happens then? Or one bidder, he can just bid £1. So I do ask this is referred to Cabinet, and I think the heads of terms is actually what protects the public value, because that will say you will do so many public accesses or whatever. So if we cannot do our job to scrutinise this, at least the decision needs to go back to Cabinet with them looking and scrutinising the heads of terms, because that actually gives us a community value, if any. And if the heads of terms are weak, then we're giving the Civic Hall away for a pittance. If the heads of terms are good, it means a third sector organisation will have the best bid, and a commercial one will be less successful. So I implore you to let this go back to Cabinet. Obviously that won't stop this happening, but it means it gets proper scrutiny, and I'm most disturbed by not allowed us to discuss some of the other stuff, particularly around the dark ops, etc. And it's a scrutiny, and we should scrutinise it, so I'll raise that at a different meeting, and I'll publish the emails that people believe don't exist. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Condacor. I think we've made it perfectly clear why we're not discussing anything other than the specifics of the call-in and that point tonight. Councillor Markham, you've indicated.
Yeah, I'll just say that Cabinet have seen the heads of terms, so it's not just been officers.
Thank you. Councillor Condacor?
Can the portfolio holder explain why, even in confidence, the members of the scrutiny panel cannot see the heads of terms then, if they've been discussed by Cabinet? Because surely scrutiny scrutinises, and there may be a need to do things in confidence. We may need to go into confidential session, but we do need to look at the heads of terms, because that is what we are selling the Civic Hall for. And and if you think logically, Chair, after this goes through, and if today we decide not to call it in, the bidders will be shown the heads of terms. So it's not like this is a document that gives yeah, it's going to be a document secret forever, because the bidders have to see the heads of terms to know what they're bidding on. So all we're asking for is this committee be given the same privileges as the bidders to look at the heads of terms.
Councillor Markham, you don't have to answer that because it's nothing to do with the point of the call in tonight. Obviously, if you wish to, that's up to you, but thank you. Right, Mrs. Ross.
I'm just listening to a lot of rhetoric tonight and of things that might have happened in November in OSP meetings and might not have happened, figures that might have been arrived at and figures that have not been arrived at. All I can say from scrutiny, from a scrutiny point of view, is that I'm not terribly happy with what I'm hearing tonight, and I'm not terribly convinced and confident in what's coming through from Councillor Markham. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ross. I'm very conscious that Councillor Watkins has made a proposal here, and does it receive a seconder?
Chair, I would second it if it included passing the heads of terms as well as part of that calling referral back. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Councillor Condon, you can't do a conditional second. You're either seconding or you're not. You're amending it.
Well, can I propose the same motion as Councillor Watkins proposed with the additional line and consider the heads of terms?
Does that receive a second? I think we're getting ourselves into a position here where we've got a proposal from Councillor Watkins. You want a second part of it. I'm not going to allow that. And if you wish, we haven't got a seconded proposal to debate and amend, so we're in a difficult position. Councillor Condon, do you want to just second Councillor Watkins' motion here?
I will second Councillor Watkins' motion, and I will push via another route to inspect the heads of terms, because I think the heads of terms are vitally important.
Okay, so we now have a seconded proposal from Councillor Watkins in front of us. Does anybody wish to make any points on this in a debate, or should we go straight to a vote on this? I'm happy to go to vote on it. Okay, nobody's indicating. I'm happy to go to a vote on this. All those in favour?
Can I move the recorded vote as well?
Happy to take a recorded vote on this. Yeah. So, okay, we'd like to call out the names and... We may not be able to have a recorded vote on this, Councillor Condon. We may need to have 3 people to vote in favour of a recorded vote. However, I'm quite happy for your vote to be recorded if you wish. Thank you for the clarification. We need 3 members to stand and show support for recorded vote. As we don't have 3 members of the panel, nice try, Councillor Shepherd. I'm happy to record your vote, sir. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So all those in favour of the motion that's in front of us? Okay, I think the motion is lost. Okay. Any member wish to add anything to the debate here tonight?
All the stuff we weren't allowed to discuss tonight, like the dark ops and the meetings, etc., can we actually put on the agenda to discuss at a different meeting, one of our normal meetings? Because there was a lot of stuff of public interest, and we were not allowed to scrutinise the whole matter. And it's a scrutiny committee. Also,
Councillor Condacombe, I'm stopping you there. I'll just remind you this is an extraordinary meeting to discuss one point, not some of the points that you wish to bring in secondary to this. If you wish to try and debate these other points, then you will need to table some sort of formal email to the committee and it'll be considered.
also, Chair, can we meet to discuss this after the biddings have gone out, when the heads of terms are in the public domain?
I think that's a matter for the future. Right? We'll look at it in the future. Moving on, we've had a debate about this. I'm quite happy to put forward a proposal, which is that we note the debate that's been held this evening, that the recommendation that was approved by the Cabinet on the 24th of May stands because it set out the process and it resolved that the proposed selection criteria was approved. It gave delegated authority to the Strategic Director, Finance and Government, and the Strategic Director, Economy and Transformation, in conjunction with the Leisure and Health Manager and Portfolio Holder for Public Services, to undertake the selection exercise, which was started. That we, in accordance with what you said, that we refer the outcome of this OSP back to Cabinet as appropriate. I think that's fair. And then we'll await the outcome of the tendering exercise that's underway at the minute. Because at the minute, we do not know what the outcome of that is going to be. And to do anything else would be to open this council to legal challenge. Okay, so I'll just reiterate this. Note the debate that's been held this evening, that the recommendations of Cabinet at the 24th of May be stand, that we refer the outcome of the OSP back to Cabinet as appropriate, and that we await the outcome of the tendering exercise. That's been seconded. Does anybody wish to contribute any further before we go to debate? Councillor Condacombe.
I think there's a lack of scrutiny here, so I do hope that we can also have a note when the tendering process starts to at least give us an executive summary of what on earth is in all this bidding paperwork, because we are totally blind, and this is supposed to be a scrutiny committee, so at least if you can give us a note of what's going on and what is expected of the bidders, I think the officers should be keeping the scrutiny committee in the loop. We've got the same thing with other matters, and there's no point in scrutiny if we can't actually see what's going on.
I'll take that under advisance later. But in the meantime, I'm happy to move to vote on this. So, Councillor Watt.
Yes, so Chair, just for clarity then. So I just want to be absolutely clear on what you're recommending or asking us to vote on. Is so you're asking us to take this back to Cabinet, but to just note what we spoke about, but not to give the third sector the chance to bid in this. So that in no way, so that still goes against what was voted for at full council.
The selection, well, the process that's underway does not preclude a third sector bid, and we already have one. So I don't see where that's coming from. So on that basis, I'm happy to move to the vote on this now. All those in... I'm happy to go to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Absolutely. Thank you. That then concludes the business for tonight's meeting. Thank you all for your attendance. Safe journey home. Thank you.